Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is May 20th. I've been thinking about where we go to do our best thinking. A lot of people put their desk by a window that overlooks the garden, or they carry a notebook outside and sit in a shady spot and let the ideas come. There's a long tradition of this. The garden shed, the garden hut, the bench at the end of a path where nobody interrupts. 2 summers ago, I put 2 reclined wingbacks in my garden shed. It was one of the best things I ever did. They're a great place to sit and admire the garden. But really, they're a place to rest and reflect. I think that's what the garden does for us when we let it. It doesn't make us more creative by trying. It just gives us a place to be still, and the ideas find their own way in. If you're in a creative slump, maybe give that a try this year. Go outside, sit near something growing that you love. See what happens. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1862 that the American landscape architect Mabel Babcock was born in Somerville, Massachusetts. And since her father was a botanist, Mabel spent her childhood growing up in a garden. After high school, Mabel earned her undergraduate degree from Northwestern. 20 years later, at 46 years old, she became the first woman to earn a master's in landscape architecture from MIT. After graduation, Mabel went on to teach horticulture and landscape architecture at Wellesley, all while running a solo design practice on the side. In 1916, MIT asked Mabel to design the Great Court at the center of the new campus in Cambridge. As an alumna, she saw it clearly, and she wrote all of her notes in purple ink. Since her vision would follow the French style, there would be more gravel and not grass, and the piece de resistance would be an enormous reflecting pond beneath the Great Dome. For plantings, Mabel added groupings of maples with conifers and magnolias to soften the bare outlines of stone. She also placed a border of rhododendrons to brighten the base of buildings with greenery and a dash of brilliant color when they bloomed. During the First World War, Mabel directed agricultural courses at the Lowthorpe School of Landscape Architecture for Women in Groton, Massachusetts. She also taught food conservation as a way to support the country, a precursor to Victory Gardens. But then, in 1928, Mabel's vision for MIT came to an end. The university wanted something different. No more gravel. Instead, they wanted lawns meandering throughout the campus. Although Mabel had lived long enough to see her vision built, she also lived to watch it dismantled and taken apart. And as the steam shovels dug it all up, even the reflecting pond, which was her quiet, formal oasis, it all disappeared forever, to live on only as part of the school's history. 3 years later, Mabel Babcock died on December 3rd, 1931, in Boston. She was 69. Yet every spring, the rhododendrons she planted still bloom at MIT, just in time for graduation. Mabel's dash of brilliant color still masks the stone at the base of the buildings, doing exactly what she intended. And it was on this day in 1902 that the American banker and railroad financier Horatio Hollis Hunnewell died at his home in Wellesley, Massachusetts. He was 91 years old. Since he never liked his first name, Horatio, everyone called him Hollis. A man of the 1800s, Hollis was born in 1810. By his 40s, he had made a fortune in the railroads, all 12 of them, and successfully steered through panics and collapses that ruined many of his friends. Because his wife's last name was Wells, he named many things in her honor, including their estate Wellesley, which rested on the shores of Lake Waban in Massachusetts. Eventually, thanks to his generosity, both the town and the college followed suit, which is why the Wellesley name is so integrated in the town. With his passion for gardening and his generous spirit, Hollis loved sharing his garden with others. Throughout his life, his garden was open to the public every afternoon. In his Italian garden, Hollis created the first topiary garden in America, using native white pine and eastern arborvitae along 7 terraces that rose 75 feet above the water. On any given afternoon, guests could arrive by an authentic Italian gondola with a gondolier in traditional dress, gliding across the lake toward the terraces. Visitors said that by moonlight, with the fountain splashing and the statues along the balustrades, the whole scene felt like Lake Como. In his pursuit of new plants, Hollis became the first to try many new garden plants and techniques. For instance, he was the first to bring rhododendrons to New England, and he displayed them proudly in full bloom on the Boston Common in 1855. He also installed a pinetum filled with rare Japanese and European conifers. Through trial and error, he quickly learned which could survive a Massachusetts winter. Late in life, Hollis reflected on his trees, saying, "No Vanderbilt, with all his great wealth, can possess one of these for the next 50 years, for it could not be grown in less time than that." Ever the pragmatist, Hollis knew that even infinite money can't rush a tree. Interestingly, Steve Jobs said something similar at the end of his life, that the one thing his wealth couldn't buy was old trees. In the end, Hollis outlived his beloved wife Isabella by 14 years. He also sadly outlived several of his 9 children. It's fitting that he was buried at Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge, the first garden cemetery in the United States. Hollis rests near the iris path and is surrounded by the kind of trees he spent his whole life planting. For 60 years, Hollis Hunnewell worked on a garden he knew he would never see finished. Yet that was exactly the point. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear a passage from a novel by the Norwegian writer Sigrid Undset, born on this day in 1882. She wrote her great medieval trilogy at a place called Bjerkebæk in Lillehammer, Norway. On a rocky plot, she cleared herself stone by stone. She loved fruit trees, herbs, and roses. Here's an excerpt from Sigrid's book, The Bridal Wreath, the first volume of her trilogy about a young noblewoman named Kristin Lavransdatter. Groves and hillsward smelt sweet, and as soon as the sun was down, there streamed out all around the strong, cool, sourish breath of sap and growing things. It was as though the earth gave out a long, lightened sigh. And later, she wrote, "Through the great darkness that would come, she saw the gleam of another gentler sun, and she sensed the fragrance of the herbs in the garden at the world's end." Sigrid wrote those words while living alone on that rocky hillside she had cleared herself. She was a woman who had left her marriage and raised her children in a cold house and a garden she built from what the ground gave her. Somehow, Sigrid wasn't reaching for poetry. She was simply writing what she already knew from kneeling in the dirt. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Woman in the Garden by Jill Johnson. This book is part of Garden Mysteries Week, which means all of this week's book recommendations feature tales of intrigue, plants, and poison straight from the garden. In this book, Professor Eustacia Rose is a botanical toxicologist who lives alone with her collection of poisonous specimens. Her life is quiet, her schedule never changes, and her closest companions are her plants. She does have one other habit, though: watching her neighbors through a telescope and taking careful notes on their lives for what she calls research. When she hears a scream one evening, she cannot look away. The Woman in the Garden is about obsession, the particular kind that only someone who has ever lost themselves completely in a garden will recognize. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1804 that a parcel of seeds arrived in England. That's the whole story, really. A little envelope of seeds. But let's back up. In the late 1700s, a woman named Elizabeth Fox, also called Lady Holland, was a renowned English political and literary hostess, and a woman who paid dearly for the life she chose. As a young woman, Elizabeth endured a scandalous divorce and had her children taken from her. And for many years, drawing room doors in London would close quietly whenever she approached. But through it all, Elizabeth turned her home, called Holland House, into the most brilliant salon in the city. She could be sharp-tongued and imperious, but underneath it all, she was someone who knew exactly what it felt like to be shut out. In the spring of 1804, Elizabeth visited the Royal Botanic Gardens in Madrid, where she met a botanist named Antonio José Cabanillas. There, Cabanillas gave her a small packet of seeds no one in England had been able to grow: dahlia seeds. Later, the librarian at Holland House, a man named Mr. Buonaiuti, recorded this in his precise handwriting. On the 20th of May, 1804, the Right Honorable Lady Holland sent home from Spain a parcel of seeds. That very summer, the dahlias flowered, and within 20 years, the dahlia was touted as the most fashionable flower in England. In a loving gesture, Elizabeth's husband, Lord Holland, penned an adoring note to mark her accomplishment. Surprisingly, he was not by reputation a sentimental man, but Lord Holland still felt moved to write her these words: "The dahlia you brought to our isle, your praises forever shall speak, mid gardens as sweet as your smile, and in color as bright as your cheek." As we close the show today, remember, if you need a place to think clearly, you already have one. It's right outside your door. And your garden doesn't need to have a fancy shed or a proper writing studio. Just a chair and a patch of shade with something blooming nearby. That's enough. When it comes to creativity, the garden has always been the place where the next good idea finds you, not the other way around. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.